I'm Nyla from Gen Z, and this is my father.
I'm Danny, Gen X, and we have the better games.
Well, Space Quest is better, but we'll see.
This one could be your crowning achievement, because I dare you to play King's Quest.
As a reminder, I've never seen nor played this game before.
So be gentle. It's her first time.
I hate you.
And I hate Undertale.
Please remember, there's a lot of language and offensiveness. Like a lot.
And puns.
So enjoy my exploration of Daventry.
In King's Quest 1, Quest for the Crown.
Hello, and welcome to King's Quest 1. I dare you to play King's Quest 1, so we're taking a little step back from the Space Quest for a minute.
Oh god.
Going back in time to a whole different place. So this was actually, like, the main game that launched here. I don't know that it was their first one, but it was certainly the one that kicked off, like, the whole adventure game thing. So Space Quest wouldn't exist without King's Quest. So we're going to go back in time a little bit. King's Quest came out before Space Quest, and it has a little intro, so we're just going to run through it here real quick. Long, long time ago, when unicorns still roamed the forest, and the merfolk still dwelt in the shallow waters frequented by men, there ruled in the kingdom of Daventry King Edward and his lovely queen.
Okay.
The people of Daventry were prosperous and happy, and everywhere peace reigned. But the king and queen were sad because they were childless.
Oh.
They had no son to inherit the throne, nor a daughter to gladden their hearts.
Alright.
One bright sunny day, King Edward the Benevolent, for so he was called, and his queen were walking in the castle garden when suddenly before them appeared a powerful sorcerer. "I know your problem, and I can cast a spell that will bring you a child," he said.
Okay.
"Oh, great sorcerer, if you can help us, we will be everlastingly grateful," said the queen. "We will bestow upon you many honors and great riches," said the king.
This sounds like a play that I'm doing.
"I have no use for honors or riches. My payment will be so great. My payment will not be so great. All I ask in return is the mahogany-framed mirror that hangs in your private chamber." The sorcerer's words gave them pause, for that mirror was priceless.
Okay.
It had the power to read the future and help to keep Daventry prosperous. The royal couple used it to foretell the weather for planting and harvest, as had the kings and queens before them. It had been hundreds of years since a crop had been planted before the last frost or had been ruined by the autumn rain. What the sorcerer desired was indeed valuable. The king and queen retired to their chamber to consult the magic mirror.
Mirror, mirror on the wall.
King Edward and his wife gazed into the mirror's depths and saw a young, princely figure with a golden crown upon his head. Imagining the youth to be the son they yearned for, the royal couple gladly bestowed the mirror upon the sorcerer. He took it to his dwelling, where he set one of his beasts to guard over it. The months passed, and the queen did not conceive a child. For the first time in 400 years, Daventry lost the harvest to an early autumn rainstorm. The king and queen wept, and everyone tightened their belts. Instead of having excess produce to sell the neighboring kingdoms, the people of Daventry had to supplement their stores with food bought elsewhere. With famine came the dreaded plague, and the queen was stricken. For 3 days she lay in the grip of a great fever, with Edward maintaining a constant vigil by her side.
Well, you done messed up.
On the 4th day of the queen's illness, a diminutive figure pushed his way between the legs of the castle guards. "I have a cure for the queen," he claimed. Quickly, the courtiers ushered him to the queen's chamber, where the king despaired. "I have traveled a great distance to bring relief to your dear wife. This powerful root, known only to dwarves, will cure any plague." The dwarf leaned over the queen and touched the root to her lips. Her eyes fluttered open, and she smiled at Edward. The queen's attendants looked at each other in wonderment. Only a touch revived her," they whispered. "Imagine how fast she will recover when given the whole root." "Ask any reward for this miraculous gift, O small one," exclaimed King Edward. "I ask in repayment the shield left you by your father when he died," said the dwarf softly.
Okay.
The king paled at the thought. The shield, made of titanium and set with emeralds, was traditionally carried in battle by the ruler of Daventry. legend held that he who bore the shield was invincible, and his army always victorious. Thus there had been no successful attack on the kingdom of Daventry for over 500 years. Ask again, little man. I will give you your weight in gold, but please do not ask for the shield, said the king. You do not appear to value your wife's life, your highness, said the dwarf. I will take no other reward than that which I have requested. Haughtily he turned to go. Come back, Edward called. I'll give you the shield. The dwarf took the shield and secreted it away in a hole in the ground in the way of the dwarves. The queen partook of the root, but to no avail. She worsened and died. Daventry's church bells tolled in mourning, and the king vowed vengeance against the false dwarf. Years passed, and the news of the loss of the shield spread. Armies attacked the weakened Daventry, and the king went out to lead his armies without the shield. Never before did they have need of the mirror to foretell enemy moves. Now that too was gone.
Man, how in the world are these people, like, even qualified to... Oh my god, okay.
Yeah. Many years passed, and the king was very lonely. One day, while out riding with his courtiers, Edward came upon a pack of wolves tearing at the lower limbs of a big tree. When the group approached, the wolves scattered to reveal a beautiful young woman perched in the tree. She descended regally. I thank you for the rescue, kind sirs. I am the Princess Dahlia of Cumberland. I was traveling through this land when that pack of wolves fell upon my group. My bodyguard fled in terror from their fangs, leaving me quite alone. I owe you my life and my heartfelt gratitude. The king was charmed with the Princess Dahlia and brought her back to his castle to visit. He felt new life coursing through his veins and knew it was because he had met someone who might fill the loneliness left by his late queen. In due time, Edward asked Dahlia to marry him, and she accepted. The people of Daventry were wildly excited at the prospect of a new queen, and hopefully, again, of an heir, and made preparations for a glorious wedding celebration. On the night before the wedding, when the air was thick with toasts and merriment, Princess Dahlia bid Edward good night. He never noticed her hand stealing up his belt and extracting the ring of keys hanging there. Much later, the royal treasurer approached the king with alarming news. He had discovered the treasury door standing open, with the king's own key in the lock. The Princess Dahlia had been inside, holding a small chest of gold. The treasurer stood frozen to the spot. The princess' bright laughter changed to a witch's cackle as her form grew old and withered. She grasped the chest and mounted her broom to fly out of the open window.
Freaking course.
The treasurer watched in dismay as she swooped up through the clouds and disappeared. When the king heard the news, he wept in despair. That chest was magic, and the last great treasure remaining in Daventry. No matter how much was taken from it, the chest always remained brimful of golden coins. Without the chest, he could buy no more food, pay no more soldiers.
Man, what is wrong with this guy?
Many more years passed, and Daventry grew poor and weak.
Yeah, no freaking wonder.
King Edward was old and feeble, and saw that his end was near. Fearing that the country would fall into even greater disorder when he died, he sent for his favorite knight, Sir Graham.
Oh.
You are the bravest and truest knight in my kingdom, Sir Graham. Long ago I envisioned your form in my magic mirror, and thought I was seeing my son and heir. The years have proven me at least half wrong, but the prophecy may yet be fulfilled. To prove yourself worthy of my crown, I command you to journey out into the world and retrieve the 3 great treasures taken from Daventry by treachery and stealth.
Oh, of course.
Succeed in this great quest, and you shall become king upon my death.
I get it now.
Fail, and our beautiful Daventry will grow ever weaker until it is invaded and conquered by unfriendly nations. This I promise, by all that is honorable and right. May you return victorious, Sir Graham.
I get it now. That's it. King's Quest.
So I should preface this one before we continue. There's a new King's Quest that came out not long ago, written by Roberta Williams, who was one of the best writers over at Sierra, and it's really good. And it was on like the PlayStation. I played it,
right?
And Nyla watched me play that game, so she's passingly sort of familiar with some of the characters.
Right, like, so I...
But it kind of goes in and out of the plots of these stories, so she doesn't really know the plots of any of these games. Of course, she's never played them.
Well, I think you said
or
it was,
seen them
like,
played.
stuff that happens in between games.
It is.
I'm
It's
like,
stuff that kind of sets up what goes on. You know, like, a part of that story takes place before this, when it's how he became a knight.
Of course, I'd also like to play that one as well.
Yeah, and maybe we'll figure out how to play that one at the end of the series. But
right.
Anyway, to continue, become Sir Graham and travel through lands of myth and magic to recover the great treasures. You must retrieve them all, for only the combined magic of the three will restore Daventry to its former glory.
Okay.
Look to the fables and fairy stories of yore for clues. Leave no stone unturned, no avenue unexplored, and you will triumph in your quest. Cool. Along the way, collect as many treasures as you can.
I already know about that rule.
The Kingdom of Daventry will need everything you can bring back.
I know.
And you will profit from the experience.
I also am already aware of that.
It may be possible to accomplish each task in more than one way.
Oh, I knew that too.
The more imaginative your solutions, the better fitted you will be to rule Daventry.
In other words, you'll get more points. Yay.
Right, but remember, this was the first one. People had never really played an adventure game like this before.
Right.
Map your progress. You will not be able to fulfill the prophecy, Sir Graham, without charting your progress. Create a map showing objects and landmarks you see along the way. You'll want to note dangerous areas in particular. Here's a typical map. Above all, try every direction and map all the different possibilities. If you overlook an area, you might miss an important clue or a necessary tool.
Okay.
The road you must travel is long and perilous. It is beset by many dangerous... It is beset by many dangerous beings. You must have the wisdom to know when to stand and fight and when to flee from superior strength. But take heart. You may receive help in unexpected places. Now go. Go now, Sir Graham. And in the words of King Edward, may you return victorious.
Lovely.
And that's pretty much the end of that. That's legit
Cool.
for King's Quest right there.
So I am gonna say a few things about this. Apparently, Dad said this one is more of like a exploring thing. Like, Space Quest was a lot more like straightforward, like, oh hey, you have to do this to move on with the game. He said this involved a lot more like, you know, exploring and...
I specifically remember that there was one of these three items, now that we're aware of the items, right? Because I didn't want to give you any spoilers. There was one of these three items that I had legit a really hard time finding.
Of course.
No, like it took me a long fucking time to figure it out. Like I walked away from the game and I had to come back to it many times before I was finally like, aha, there it is.
Oh.
And yeah, so
Okay.
it can be interesting, and
All
so there may be a lot of Nyla walking around rocks in this way.
You know, okay. If that happens, we'll probably just like speed it up for your own freaking convenience. Because God. If you guys remember that episode, the one where I walked around that rock for like 10 minutes, I'm still sorry about that one. No, I will be eternally sorry about that one. And speaking of Space Quest, please, don't get salty, okay? Because Space Quest is gonna come back. We figured it out. There's 4 King's Quest games, I think you said. Yeah.
Thereabouts. The
About
technology
4.
catches up. So King's Quest is about 1 ahead of Space Quest.
Yeah.
So in order to get even with Space Quest 3, you got to make it to about King's Quest 4 or so.
Right. So, at that point in time, when King's Quest makes the technology jump, I will switch back to Space Quest.
I mean,
and we will go back to that.
We're not going to make a definite
right
plan, too, because you never know what's going to happen.
I was about to say,
we
my
might get to a
plan
good
right
stopping point, or she might get so frustrated with King's Quest, she's got to go back to Space Quest for a minute.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I don't know.
Or maybe she just rambles through these really fast, and so we'll jump a little bit ahead. Who knows?
I don't know.
But we'll play it by ear. And this is the prep work right here. This is the introduction for I Dare You to Play King's Quest 1, the old EGA version, not that new crap where they remade it.
Oh my god, I actually...
We're going back to 8-bit, baby.
I saw the VGA version of Space Quest 1 and I was so salty because it's so much easier than the EGA. And I'm like, y'all are cheaters.
And I think specifically she was really upset about the fact that you could just bypass the speeder scene.
Oh my god, yes! The skimmer, the thing that took me forever to freaking do.
Yeah, to get over all the rocks. It's like, oh, if you don't want to play this arcade thing, just hit this button.
It's like, do you want to skip this? And then the piece of glass when you get out of
it like glints.
It's just like,
it's shining. Like, don't forget about me. Over here.
Yeah, and I'm just like, no.
Mm-hmm.
And they also made Greg super lumpy and weird, and I didn't like that either.
I don't remember that. I'll have to look up a picture of that. But
Yeah.
anyway, so yeah, this is
Anyway.
King's Quest. We'll see.
Yes, King's Quest!
We'll see you next week when Nyla tries to restore Daventry to its former glory.
AKA that moment when I actually play something other than Space Quest. Get freaking ready, y'all.
And here it comes.
Here it comes!
Like, subscribe, or else you might miss one. And of course, we'll always post updates on Facebook, so check us out there too.
Hey!
See you next week, guys.
See ya!